cancer, by the way, is a disease that gets fed by stress.
Hmm.
And so if you're really reducing stress, you live a longer life. Lori had a less than 2 year prognosis when she was diagnosed. She was never in remission. She was never cancer free, but she did live 16 years. And I am absolutely convinced it was because of some of those choices.
Yeah. Fight disease, don't fight death. And as you said it, death is inevitable. I flipped to the corporate world. Change is inevitable.
Oh, yes.
And I was wondering what is the equivalent to that? You described the change in managing, namely in bringing everyone to the table and having everyone give their ideas instead of having it, all coming from the boss.
Yeah.
The old the old style, unfortunately, still exists in some places. Uh, how did you find yourself as you were facing this life situation at home and changing values and recognizing you have to fight the disease but not fight death? And in the corporate world, don't fight change, okay, but fight the problems, etc. Uh, did you in any way bring those two together or learn from the one, applied to the other?
That's a really powerful question. And I would like to believe that we did, that at least there was an awareness there and we approached life from an integrated fashion. So there wasn't a separation between home life and work life and maybe our life in a community of friends so that there just wasn't time or energy. There was work and paying medical bills and holding it together. So I just don't think we kept things compartmentalized. I The culture that we live in almost demands of you. And Dr. Douglas, as you told me your story, I couldn't help but think you would have seen some of this in just in profound ways. It demands that either you're a high performer or that you're highly competent. So,
Hmm.
you trade off of your expertise or you trade off of your ability to get things done.
Hmm.
And that's the showcase, and that's what you've got to do. And the emphasis becomes being a knower of things or a skilled person. And so we start to literally trade, want to be paid for our ability to perform or to know. But actually, we got to where we were because we learned, not because of what was in our heads, but because there was space to gain new skills, to acquire new insight, to innovate, to disrupt, to grow, to bring creativity. And if we aren't already, if we have stopped being open to the new and to learning, we become the problem to change. We become the chief resistor. And when the change comes, it actually breaks a lot of people. It breaks us because we're so opposed to it until we can't oppose it any longer. And now we want to learn in order to survive so that we don't have to change after that, as opposed to it being an ongoing, lifelong sequence of openness. And so when you return to your career or your life or your health with open hands, I have this moment, I offer it to the world instead of I'm taking it and I'm clinging to it and you're going to have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. Well, that's exactly what will happen. Cold, dead hands instead of warm and open heart.
Yes. No, I do like the imagery of the open hands. And as you were speaking, I remember when I was a young man, and at the time thinking that what my career was going to be was that of a professor, and I wanted to be known as a great teacher. And I kept thinking that,
Wow.
education is e-duct. It's leading out. And we've changed a lot of education to, as you say, having an expertise and drilling that into other people, as opposed to being Socratic and having the questions and the
You're
discussions
not kidding.
and leading people to give their opinion, and in so doing, have the aha moments. And as you said that, it just brought that back to me, and how much that is really what innovation is all about, and what successful living is actually all about, with open
Yeah.
hands. I
Very well said.
What are two or three principles you would leave with us in terms of things to do that build resilience?
So to respond to that question, what I go to is what do I find popping up like repeatedly in my conversations with people when they are saying, I don't know what to do, or I'm really stuck, or we're really stuck, or we can't figure it out. What really rises to the top over and over? And I find myself in conversations repeatedly about getting to the executive function of your brain so that you can do long-term and middle-term and short-term thinking all at once instead of just being reactionary and taking care of the short term while you postpone the long term, as if they're divorced from each other when they are not. And so to help people begin to be able to recognize when they are in a reactive mode, or what we sometimes joke is the lizard brain, oh, there's a lion, is it going to eat me? Versus taking the breath, taking a beat, inhaling, exhaling to reset in order to be able to say, what kind of a problem is this? Why does it matter? Who plays any role to address this? What does done look like? Is there a deadline? Just starting to iterate the problem so you can move it forward and you don't have to keep coming back at it 3, 4, or 5 times. Because in organizational life, if you are having multiple conversations over time about the same thing and it's not moving forward, or you're having conversations that start with, but I thought that you were going to, those are very expensive in time and money, and also in employee retention and people feeling valued. So that's a big one, to be able to be thoughtful. And especially if you're an executive, you represent the executive function of the organization. So you're paid to think. You're paid to use the executive function of your brain, not to be reactionary. So how do we get you there? So that's a big one. And then a second one that really readily comes to mind, and I have been working with it considerably in these last couple of years. I'd say like post-COVID, it's really leaping out. And that's the ability to monitor your physical energy for the purposes of the work that you have to do. We all have a body battery, and our brain uses extensive calories, and our brain is wired to perceive things, not just to see, not just to listen, and especially not to just see or listen for a hook so that we can say what we want to say. Our brains are best used to perceive a whole and to be able to describe it. And we can't do it when we're rushing. We can't do it when we're fatigued. We can't do it when we're reactionary. We will miss all kinds of signals. We'll misdiagnose. We'll run over the top of people. And then that means people have to really develop and protect their margin as one of the physical disciplines, just like getting exercise, just like dieting well, or they are going to run through their life faster and with less success than if they actually manage their physical capacity and energy so they can do it tomorrow as well, and next year as well, and for the next decade after that, instead of running on deficit all of the time. We're not wired to be a red line engine. We are wired to run underneath the red line so that we can keep running for the next 100 miles and the next 100 after that. So those are two things. That energy and the executive function of the brain are conversations that I'm not bringing to say, I want to talk about this. It is the stuff that people are bringing. And when I start asking some questions, we're dealing with, I'm so tired. or everybody's so angry. I've got employee churn, and we dig down. It often is rooted in those two issues.
Dr. Vincent, thank you very much. I I could not help thinking as you closed out two things. And one of them resonates because I just did a brief reel talking about what are some of the signals that you get, which will tell you it's time to reframe the situation. And one of them was if you find yourself repeating the same complaint without thinking about a solution, that's,
That's
you know,
wonderful. Yes.
and that was one of the things which you just said. And the second one, which I want to reemphasize, is indeed not running at the red line or above the red line, taking that pause because the brain perceives, and the brain uses a lot of energy, which we actually don't think about. And so taking the pause and the rest so that we have time to perceive. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to do this with you. I so admire your work. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You're awfully kind.